Yeah, and it hammers home that risk, doesn't it? It hammers home that everything that these drivers do when they're in the car is they do whilst potentially putting their lives at risk. And we shouldn't accept today's outcome as lucky or a fluke
No,
because
a
it's
lot of things
happened
were
because
designed.
yeah, it's happened because a lot of people have put a lot of time and effort into ensuring that the regulations are keeping the driver's safety as paramount. And then the designers have done a great job. You already mentioned the halo and how that stayed in shape. I mean, and the size of that impact, it must have been like 60G or something incredible. Yes, it is. It is nothing short of miraculous that Grosjean was able to get out of that and that he is, largely okay. But it should be analysed fully in order to ensure that it doesn't happen again. We need to ensure that the barriers don't fail in that way again, if possible. We shouldn't just say, well, everything's working fine and that was just lucky. It's because of careful analysis of these incidences and changing of the regulations and the effort being put into it that we can say that Grosjean was okay, because it only would have taken one minor safety feature to have failed or to be missing or to have been forgotten about. And, we wouldn't have seen all of the footage that we saw, because the only reason that we saw all of those dramatic images is because he was okay, because we wouldn't have seen it and probably wouldn't be talking about it if we hadn't. And, this would have been a very, very different episode indeed.
We might have not done an episode. It would have been hard to film an episode of anything other than the outcome.
But they wouldn't have raced today. I would have thought. They wouldn't have raced.
No. And I just want to jump on top of that. It's funny you say that because I want to put a segue in there. I'm surprised. I know we had a lot of downtime. We had a long period underneath the red flags, which is completely fine. And at the time, all the focus was on Grosjean. And like I point out that adrenaline can do amazing things for you. I've known people who've broken their spine in multiple places in car accidents, self-extracted, ran to get help, and then once that adrenaline is worn off, they feel the impact of their, they've broken their back and then they can't walk. But the adrenaline has made them go from A to B to get help, because that's how your body reacts. It's like fight or flight, it's that kind of stuff. But going back onto the red flag, my other half said to me, will they race today? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure they will. She's like, but surely they want to take loads of photos and evidence. If this doesn't happen very often, like I said to her, I was like, this doesn't happen at all. The car should have not snapped in half. The last time we saw that was Alonso in Australia, where the car really kind of fell apart. The last time I saw a car rupture like that, I cannot remember. We've seen some small engine fires, but nothing like that. I was under the impression maybe they want to start getting down there and just start looking at the evidence, how this happened, and start taking pictures of the barrier of the car before they started scooping it up and throwing it in a pile. I was surprised for how quick they reacted to the scene and started clearing it up. I really thought there would be some almost investigation going on, because how do you learn from it if you don't if you don't go, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Should they have taken? Do you think they should have been more careful with the scene? Do you think they should have preserved it? Maybe take what they can from it? Or do you think it's just one of those things where, yeah, he got out, that's absolutely fine. We've got it all on camera, so let's crack on with the race. It's a hard one. I'm still torn from it. This whole situation, I like to point out, we've been recording this for 30 minutes and, the race finished a couple of hours ago. I still struggle to put into words what happened today. It still blows my mind that he can have an incident like that and walk away from it. And like I said, I've said lucky a couple of times, but I completely agree with what you said, Alex, and that it's thanks to the FIA for investing so much time and money into the safety standards. It's thanks to the numerous tests these cars go through. It's thanks to the mechanics who build these cars to the high standards they need to. It's thanks to the marshals and the safety car and the medical car. It's mad. Over to you.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that, absolutely. And I think that in regards to the barrier and whether or not they should have left it as it was, I can only assume that there's a lot of information that they can gather from what they did. They can gather it from the parts of the car. They've obviously got plenty of angles as to what happened. But I do think that it's important. Once it was established that Grosjean was okay and they were taking him to hospital, and obviously he wasn't completely fine, he might have burns. They were talking about possible broken ribs. It seems odd describing that as okay, but when you consider the alternative, that is definitely the way to describe it. So once they had established that, I think it makes sense to want to try and continue the race.